What's up, real estate agents? If you've wanted to build your personal brand, this is the video you've always been waiting for. I finally get the opportunity to chat with Bryan Casella, the YouTube king and social media master in real estate. We talk to you about the exact tips and strategies of how to become a local authority in your market and also how to build your brand to the point where business gravitates to you for being the real version of you. He talks to you about all the techniques that he's never shared with people before, so you're going to want to stay until the end, because at the end of the video, he shares what you need to do step by step in 2020 in order to skyrocket your brand and explode your business. So without further ado, let's jump into it and learn how to become the king of your market. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and I'm super stoked to share this one with you. This is a collaboration that I've been wanting to do for well over 2 years now. We've got the guy, BC Bryan Casella from California, the guy that probably all of you watching here have seen his videos and used his videos, like myself, in order to catapult us into the real estate business and achieving success. So Bryan, what's up, brother?
Mike, dude, thanks for having me, man. It's been crazy, dude. You know, looking back at all the years of doing video and kind of how the game has changed and the amount of people that are doing video now, not just in like the real estate space, but overall, you know, since I jumped on probably in 2014, it's just completely revolutionized, man. So it's been cool to see it develop and grow and expand, you know?
It's insane, man. It's been incredible to watch you, almost pioneer this movement of realtors that are putting themselves out there in a vulnerable, transparent, and authentic way, which we'll get into later, on social media, something that used to be almost taboo for realtors to go against the grain and, be locked in to this sort of, confinement of what the regulations and the old school rules are telling us. So, I'm excited to go into this with you. But one thing, if there happens to be some Canadian agents that just haven't, they've been living under a rock and haven't watched your content yet, let's give the Coles notes of who BC is, and then let's dive into some cool stuff, because there's some neat observations I'm excited to chat about.
Yeah, man. Bryan Casella, 33, going on 34. I've been in the real estate business a little bit over 6 years now, almost 6.5. About a few months in, I started just documenting what I was doing, and after a couple of years, it really started getting a lot of momentum. It went from me just sharing what I was doing, some calls I was making, the activities I was doing, to then attracting a bunch of people, doing some collaborations. And, my channel just started getting a lot of notoriety, travel and speak now. I've grown a team the last couple of years, so it's really just exploded. And I think I'm one of the first people who really started putting out, real estate agent sales type of content in a vlog format, and from the ground up, meaning as I started and built my business. And again, like Mike said, I really went against the grain. When you thought of what at that time was the typical realtor, when you started watching me, I literally embodied the exact opposite in most cases. So the fact that I was able to have success left a lot of people scratching their heads and saying, okay, who is this kid? And that's why I think after a couple of years, I really started getting, a bigger following and more traction.
I think what's really cool about following your journey from day one is the fact that, now you've got the big house, the Lamborghini, you've got some, some flashier, more luxurious lifestyle parts to your life, but nobody can say that it was an overnight success, and nobody can discredit you, because they can literally go back. You've documented the struggle and the effort you've put in. So you've basically solidified what it took in order to get you to that point. Was that ever sort of a thought in your mind that, I know I'm going to be successful, I know I'm going to be rich, but I want to prove to people along the way that this is what it took?
Well, to answer the first question, yes. And I believe that's something that a lot of people have issues with. If you're going to start real estate or anything else, that has to be a thought that you hold on to in your mind. Why would we do something new and then not expect it to work? And I think that's like the biggest flaw that people have, particularly in real estate, is they get in, even if they watch me or you or somebody else, it's almost like in the back of their mind, they're still doubting everything and they believe nothing's going to work, regardless of who they are or where they're from. Because I've seen it at both ends of the spectrum, the younger people, the older people, the people who transitioned from a real career, the people who did real estate in the beginning. That seems to be the hang up. So 100%, did I maybe see it exactly as it is? No, but I knew, hey, this effort now eventually will equal what I want and what I desire. As you can see by a lot of the old stuff that I post, where you see, the vision board and what I had, the cars and even some of the non-material stuff. And you look now and I've acquired those things and I've accomplished them. Right. But really in the beginning for me, dude, it was more just documenting what I was doing in the sense of having like a video diary, if that makes sense. A lot of people, I think, just, they didn't believe what I was doing. And I saw that right away. I was like, man, people like can't fathom that I'm door knocking and cold calling like a madman, as an example. Like they don't believe me that I'm being consistent. And that's one of the reasons I started making videos, was to show people, hey, I'm doing it old school. I'm younger. I have no connections. I don't have any money. I only have one suit, but I'm going to make this happen. Watch me. And I'll share with you what I learned, what I do right, what I do wrong. And no one else was doing it at that time, like you mentioned in the beginning. And slowly but surely, dude, it just started growing. It was a measure of accountability for me. But I knew there would be people in our age group, younger, older, that would find this and be like, oh my God, I'm so glad I found this. Because I felt so alone, dude, when I started. I had the Mike Ferry coaching, which was great, but it's a 30-minute phone call once a week and it's $1,000 a month. So I put that on a credit card and I was like, shit, I got to make stuff happen. And having that and then seeing, I would get 10, 20, 50 views on my videos, nothing crazy, but the comments, oh my God, I'm so glad you're sharing this. I'm going through the same thing. It's cool to see somebody around my age group who is doing this and showing me what it's really like. Because at that time too, I think I was the first person really to come out and say, hey, real estate's not easy. You're going to get your ass kicked. When everyone else is like, oh, I see Bravo TV and $1 Million Listing. It looks easy. Let's get our license. So I wanted to represent, in my mind, what was reality versus what other people had perceived on TV and through other avenues. And I think in the beginning, it was such a shock to people. That's why it took a lot of time for me to really gain traction, because I literally went against what everybody else was saying. At that time, it's all rainbows and sunshine. And I'm like, hey, I'm working my ass off and I'm getting my ass kicked every day. This is not easy.
Yeah, man, I think that's incredible. And, we're going to dive deep into branding. And I think that's going to be, something that you've evidently, not just demonstrated in the real estate community, but also in your own industry, because a lot of people know you and they know you as the YouTube guy, and they know you that you've built a strong personal brand on social media. But what people don't also understand is that you've also built a strong brand in your market. And I think both of those are extremely powerful, because you need the market presence in order to actually close deals. If you're putting out YouTube content and you're not actually selling, that's not doing a whole lot for your business. So how did that come? What was your angle in terms of understanding what type of effort you need to put into social and branding online? And how do you pair that with building your brand and presence in your actual market?
Yeah. When you look at what I did in the beginning as an example, and this is, I think, the disconnect for a lot of people, is there was always both fronts. Like if we're going to think of this as a battlefield, I had my infantry and I had my cavalry. You know what I mean? I had both. And I think a lot of people, when they get into this, they believe that video will replace the traditional activities. Or we have some people who do the traditional activities and they're like, oh, video, social media, that's a waste of time. I'm somebody who at the time said, well, I'm going to stick to these strategies of, as an example, open houses, cold calling, door knocking. I'm going to keep doing that and pumping the pump, because that's what the lifeblood of my business. But I noticed that with video in particular, it created an effect on people. Especially once I got the nervousness out after a couple of videos, and my videos started somewhat being decent, meaning my delivery of the material. I was sending it to people. They were responding. People were sending me messages. Clients were like, hey, I checked out you on Google and I found a video. It was very informative. I've never heard that about pricing, as an example. I've never heard about that about marketing, or I didn't know realtors did that. I didn't know they made cold calls. I thought that was just BS. So I noticed that for my brand, it helped, but more than anything, it solidified my brand in this sense. Let's say I call somebody or I knock on their door, right? They've seen me now, they've met me, they've heard my voice, whichever one. Eventually, they're going to see me online, right? If we start conversing, they start getting my emails, they're going to get videos. At some point, people get curious, okay? And they'll see you. Additionally, when you combine the video with the in-person or the phone calls, now people start recognizing you at the supermarket, at the gym, and all these other places. Like in the last 24 hours, I've maybe gone to 5 or 6 different places, and at 4 of them, somebody approached me and said, "Oh man, you know, I follow you on YouTube, follow you on Instagram. That's cool. Hey, my buddy's moving out of the area in 2 months. Can you help him?" Right? So it's 2 things. If I'm going to say anything, Mike, it's going to be, you need to do both, the traditional plus the video. But at the same time, you need people to know what you do. And even to this day, you still see me announce at the beginning and at the end of videos, and you even see the little text. We handle real estate in Southern California, and we can help you worldwide. Because I can't tell you of how many messages I get of people who live in Canada, Florida, Michigan, India, Asia, and they say, "Hey, I've been following you. I need to buy a home in X city or sell in X city. Do you know somebody?" And I'm like, absolutely. I think this year, bro, we did agent to agent referral sent out. I think we closed 14 or 15, and received that we closed this year was 19, just from agent to agent referral.
That's incredible, man. And a lot of these people, you know, when they build up that like, know, and trust factor because they've seen your videos and they understand your personality. So they know when they send you a client, they know what kind of quality service they're going to get because you're BC and people know what you stand for. So I think that's incredibly powerful. Now, you know, one thing that I find a lot of realtors reach out to me with in terms of struggling on personal brand is using social media as a tool, not a toy. A lot of people get wrapped up in the endless fucking scrolling, and they never go anywhere with it because all they're doing is watching stories, and they struggle to actually use it intentionally and tactically. So for you, like, I guess going back, for me, what I did when I got into real estate is I said, I'm going to build my brand on Instagram, but I'm going to lead gen on Facebook. What was your take on it when you started getting into real estate and saying, okay, I've got these relevant platforms today. I'm going to go all in on these ones for this specific reason?
Great question, man. You know, I truly believe that now it's a different animal than it was when I started. You know, when I started, my whole thing was, I realized very quickly, and I think people forget this, that there's a lot of people out there, whether they're an agent or a consumer, and I'll get into the content for each one here in a sec, but there's people who only use certain platforms, right? There's people who are only going to follow you and me on Instagram, or just watch our YouTube videos, or just watch our Facebook, you know, videos or posts. And I realized that very quickly. So I made sure to facilitate it in the sense that I would shoot a video with the regular video app. And I'm like, dude, if I save this on my phone, I can post this on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook with just a couple clicks, and it's super simple. So I made it a commitment from day one. I'm going to post for sure on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Okay, I do Snapchat too a little bit, but those are the main 3 that I focus on, that I'm always pumping out. And here's the key, is if I create a YouTube video, I'll put a 1-minute teaser as an example on Instagram, and then send people to YouTube. And then I'll send people from YouTube to my Facebook and Instagram. So I'm constantly cycling and pushing people between these things. And what that creates is the messages that I get where people are like, dang, dude, any app I go on, you're the first freaking face that I see. Because they're clicking me on multiple platforms, and these algorithms are super smart. So they know what you want to see, what you're looking at. So that's how I brand with people, as far as making sure I get in front of as many people as possible. And my goal is top of mind awareness. I don't necessarily need to get you to click and comment on everything, but if you're seeing me and you're registering, oh, that's Bryan, he's the realtor, he does this, that, that's good for me. Because then when there's a desire for you to do something, buy or sell, you're going to reach out to me or think of me, and then you'll find me, if that makes sense, right? As far as the content, dude, if I can touch on that real quick, I do have, if you look through my YouTube channel, the old videos, I created a series where I educated a little bit, and I put it out for agents to see because they were curious as to what I was sending people. And I send that as a part of my pre-listing package, and also in my email drip campaigns to the people that are in our database. And it's simple stuff about pricing, how to choose an agent. And I created like a 15 or 20 video series on basic, 2, 3, 4 minute videos for the consumer to watch, to educate them on certain processes in real estate, as far as if they're a seller or a buyer. Because the agents forget that the consumer, they think they know, but they don't know, right? They're basing their decisions on Zillow or some random article that came out by CNN. They're not consulting in most cases with a trained professional who gives them the real up-to-date information and explains the actual process to them. So it kills two birds with one stone, in the sense that you're doing something that other agents aren't doing, but then I'm positioning myself as an expert to them. And that's what I want. Because when you have that is when you get the trust, you get the confidence, and everything else that you just described earlier, because I want to be that person, right?
Definitely. And I think, there's a lot to say about putting out content that's predicated on providing value to the consumer on YouTube. Because what I've even found up here, even with my smaller audience on YouTube, is the fact that when people Google you and they see that you're on YouTube, there's this perception from the general public that you've got this influence and this credibility because you're on YouTube. They think it's some magical place for people that are creators. And, if you go there and you're providing all this value, I think it's incredible to see the results and get, knowing that, people respect people that are putting out content for free that help others. One thing that I'd like to talk about, because you just alluded to it, and I think this is fantastic to drive home, is you talked about the importance of brand awareness. Because one thing that I see is holding so many people back is the fact that they look at social media or they look at content and say, there's no immediate ROI. Why would I invest my time in doing this? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Because you can see you're an embodiment of this notion that if you embrace delayed gratification and you constantly and consistently put out, it can skyrocket over time, but you have to be willing to put in without getting anything for a minute.
Yeah. And there's so much I can say about that, dude. The first thing is people need to, this is something I tell people constantly, you need to use social media and not be used by it, which is kind of what you were talking about earlier. We see people scrolling too much and they consume instead of produce. And another thing I want to comment on is what you said people need to hear, and I'd like to add to it about when people Google you and they see it, there's a perception, okay? That's key, Mike. I'm glad you said that, because now a common question or concern that I get is, well, you have the followers, bro, I don't. When the consumer looks up your name, they see your YouTube video. They're not like, oh my God, he only has 1,000 followers. He's a nobody. They don't think that way. They're like, okay, he's on YouTube. That's senior to what I just said. So whether you have 100 followers, 50 or a million, it doesn't matter. Because to the client, as soon as you put your camera on and you're like, hey, we're taking a video, they're like, oh my God, the world's going to see it. Yeah. Even if you only get 50 views. So you need to understand that. Okay. Additionally, when it comes to the subject, man, can you repeat the question again? I want to make sure I answer it perfectly.
Yeah. Just having agents understand delayed gratification and the ROI or the ROTI, the return on time invested with social, because they're saying, well, everything that I need to do needs to provide a return on my investment and my time today. And not many are willing to put out and invest their time into content and creation and providing value, because they don't know internally when that's going to become a check.
Cool. Got it. Cool. I just want to make sure I answer it properly. Now, we have plenty of references when it comes to that, whether it's investing as an example in real estate, that it's going to pay you way later on, especially with equity built and all that. But one of the main, I guess, counter arguments I have to that with people is, number one, they have a perception that social media takes a lot of time. And I spend very minimal time producing and shooting content and all that. It's very minimal. I don't think I spend more than 30 minutes to an hour a day, because I'm just efficient and it's scheduled. It's a priority. Okay. The second thing is this: any of the apps or any of the things that we described today, are any of them pay to play? No, they're free. So if I have a tool that allows me to create a video that anybody on the planet can watch, from my neighbor all the way to the person on the exact opposite side of the planet that we can call the farthest distance from me, for free, I'm going to say that's not worth my time. Yeah. You see people who started on YouTube a couple years ago that now are being featured in major films. on Netflix series, and they're making millions of dollars. And they started just by doing a video like this with their phone saying, hey, I'm Bob. This is a vlog that I'm shooting with my family. It started for free. And people forget that maybe 15, 20 years ago, you needed to be discovered by a talent scout, or you had to be in Hollywood. Now you create your own brand and your own fame, literally from a grassroots movement of you shooting content. And dude, I just got this iPhone 11. This thing is like 4K, 60 FPS. Yeah, it's nuts, right? And my first 3 years on YouTube, all I used was like my iPhone 6 for my content. My audio sucked, my video sucked, but I just kept pumping it out. So you have every reason in the world to do it, right? And the ROI, if people were to think about it in this way, remember what we mentioned in the beginning about doing both sides of the fence. You got to keep doing the lifeblood building business activities like calling and knocking. I'm not saying to stop that. Maybe after a couple of years, if you've built it right and you've built your database, you can kind of get off that a little bit. But what marketing does is it accelerates that process, I believe, because you can keep building your database. But at the same time, when you build a big brand, this is another thing that people forget. The ROI of that can actually expand outside of just your immediate business. You see, I have done collaborations now, and I have other business opportunities that are available to me because I built my brand. And I'm talking to people from different industries, different careers. I have friends from different, circles, and all of that was given to me by the connections that I've made by building my brand. So a lot of people who might be watching you have aspirations to someday do something different than real estate or have another business. This is a great platform that you can build that will facilitate and accelerate the process of you doing something else as well. Not to mention, and I'll wrap this up and I'll pass it back to you. A lot of times people forget the luxuries that come with having a brand. A lot of times people won't even look twice at you unless you have a following. It's sad to say that, but it's true. So if you build a platform, you will be able to get those opportunities. And maybe that one seller that you're after won't pay attention to you, but then when they find out, or you let them know that, hey, you know what I mean? You're looking for the top dog, right? Well, I have XYZ followers. I have this, I know this person. I've been featured with so-and-so. You know how many times somebody gets one of our emails or in our database, they see that, I've spoken with literally almost every participant for $1 Million Listing multiple times. They're like, oh, you know Josh Altman. Oh, you know Luis. Oh, you know Ryan Sirhan. You know this guy. I'm like, well, I don't know them, but I've spoken with them on multiple occasions now. They're like, oh, really? My status in their eyes just went boom.
Yeah.
But how did I get that? I got those opportunities by building my social media platform and then being invited to go speak. And I'm getting paid to speak alongside those guys. Because now they have the category of the TV guys and they have the social media guys. And I'm there. So again, when you look at the opportunities and the possibilities with this, it's endless. So for me not to do it because I'm short-sighted in a sense and I say there's no ROI now, to me that doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure after listening now, people are like, okay, yeah, he's right.
Entirely, man. And one thing that this rolls into perfectly now is how you built your personal brand on social media. Because, you and I even talked about it when we met up in LA, is the fact that you're the guy that's tatted up head to toe. You dress in, sometimes you're in some flashy clothes, or you're just yourself. And you're not the typical agent that's suited with the tie at 24/7. And again, going against the grain. But one of the most important things is that you built it being you. And I find, I had a conversation with somebody about this the other day, and I made a video about how it's almost pathetic that Instagram has to remove likes so that people can become confident enough to put out content that's real, authentic, and vulnerable to them. Because they're putting out so much crap in order to get likes that they're not being their self. But you have taken real estate and built your brand being exactly who BC is. So what has that done for you? Because you even mentioned when we were having lunch together is that people will even see you not really vibe with what you look like or how you present yourself, but they know the quality that you're going to give to the point where that doesn't even matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great observation, man. Great question. So there's a lot to say about this, man. Originally, through a lot of the stuff that I learned and, individuals that I've studied in the past, I realized that a lot of times in order for you to get attention, you need to go against the grain. So that was always in the back of my mind. And at the same time, as I started taking stock of, my qualities as an individual and then comparing them to the real estate space or social media, I started seeing, I was like, wow, it's kind of killing two birds with one stone, because who I am as a person, when there's no cameras and nobody's around, is very against the grain. And my habits and my way of thinking and my way of speaking, and my rawness, that's just how I am. Maybe it's amplified now because I've done a lot of, self-development and maturing over the years. But I was like, okay, you know what? A lot of people are afraid of the consequences that come with it, because with great power comes great responsibility, and people forget that. So for you, the person starting this who's like, okay, I want to get a big following. Well, are you ready to deal with all the things that come with the big following and the attention and all that? Because you cannot have one without the other. And there's two sides to this coin. That's what people forget, is the moment you go from being known by 100 people, which is your sphere of influence, to now, let's say you went viral and now 10 million people know you. Even if only a fraction of a percent of those people hate you and criticize you, judge you, talk trash about you, say that you're fake, that's still going to be probably thousands and thousands of people. Can you deal with that? Or are you going to have a mental breakdown like you see a lot of these celebrities that end up on drugs and commit suicide? They cannot handle the heat. So a lot of times people, they want to, it's like you cannot have day without night. You cannot have north without south. You cannot have male without female. Those polarities exist. So when you put yourself out there, if you're not ready to accept the fact that something like that will happen and you will face opposition, then you will stop yourself. And that's what I believe stops most people, dude, is they'll say, okay, I'm going to make a video. And what's the first thought that comes into their head? Oh shit, who's going to see it? And then, well, I want to say this, but my Aunt Sally is going to say something if I say that. Well, if I title it this, then my colleague isn't going to like it. And now they get into this whole fiasco about it, right? Second thing that I want to add, dude, is, everybody who creates content is so focused on the likes and the shares, they forget about the quality of the people that you want following. About a year and a half ago, I probably went through the biggest purge and wave of attacks that I've ever gotten. Now, I had predicted it more than a year before. If you talk to my girlfriend, Loida, I had told her a big attack is coming, because as I was learning from other people and big figures from the past, I saw the phases that they were going through. And then I mirrored it with my life and said, okay, then this is next. A big attack or some wave is going to come. And it came. But all it really did was it got rid of the people who weren't really my followers. And I had always been doing that systematically by just revealing more about who I am without apology. But once that happened, the people who rode for me and were like, yeah, we're Team BC, they were like diehard allies, loyal allies, respect and honor, like Spartans. Cool. I'd rather have 300 Spartans than that 100,000 Persian army, because that 300 Spartans is going to fuck them up, So that's what I saw. And I said, man, as emotionally difficult as that was in a sense, because I'm not perfect, right? People attack you and you still are going to feel it. No matter how zen and monk you are, you're still going to feel some resistance. I'm so glad I went through it, man, because I really relate it back to my beginning struggles as an agent. Because I was beat up emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, very hard. But it molded me into the individual that I was thereafter. So of course, you have to go through that. It's that same rite of passage. But the question is the individual ready to go through that rite of passage? And it's not easy, because you will be tested. Your character will be tested. Your friends will be tested. Your reality will literally be shook. It's like a 10.0 earthquake. And then you look at what's left in your life and you're like, holy shit. Now, if you can't deal with that and cope with it and accept it and keep going, then you're not going to earn that position. And as you keep climbing higher on the ladder, more followers, more money, more recognition, more market share, that pressure keeps mounting. So if you're not getting stronger as an individual, you start to crumble. And that's why we see so many cases of people disappearing or cracking under pressure. But I always told myself through my studying, my self-development and all the rituals that I have, I want to be unbreakable. And I need these things to happen for me to demonstrate that I am unbreakable. So as they come, I'm like, bring it. I embrace it, which is the last thing I can touch on before I pass it back to you, Mike, is whatever you guys resist, everybody watching this, what you resist, you're going to get more of. If there's that one topic or one thing that you're insecure about, that you're trying to hide or that you try to push away, it's going to keep being brought to the surface, and it's going to keep stinging you more and more, and it'll keep messing with you more and more until you stop resisting it. And the same thing can go with anything else. If you resist this, it's going to get worse. If you resist that, it's going to get worse. You have to embrace anything and everything that comes with this journey and face it head on. And those are the people that are rewarded, not because they're fearless, but because they have the courage to face it and get through it.
I love what you said, man, about the purging. And this is something, again, a lot of people struggle with is being liked by everybody. But we all know that the biggest brands in the world are polarizing. You look at Andy Frisella, Gary Vaynerchuk, any of these people are extremely polarizing, which is why they've got their ride or dies and they've got their haters, but the ride or dies will never leave. And I think, you know, being the truest, most authentic version of yourself is such a powerful embodiment for people to understand, because on the social side, you're going to get people that don't ever give a shit about you anyway. They're going to start unfollowing you. And the ones that do are going to support you to the death. And going back to clients, the ones that wouldn't have had a good business working relationship with you are just simply not going to work with you. And the ones that do resonate and appreciate and respect the value you deliver and you as a person will work with you. And that business relationship is going to flourish and be so much more prosperous than just trying to take everyone and everyone from any angle. Right. So I love that you did that purge, man. I'm going through the same thing right now. So that's super powerful. Now, heading into 2020, what is your advice in terms of, was there anything that you felt that you struggled with or did wrong when building your brand? And what do you think agents should do heading into 2020, a new decade, in order to build the brand they've always wanted?
Yeah. And if I can add real quick before I answer this question to the previous point, you know, the way I look at it too is I've always made everything, and this could even touch on the following question and point. I've always made things, the whole point of it and the whole, we can say, purpose of it bigger than just me.
Yeah.
So for example, when I look at the previous point that we talked about, and even the future one, I know, hey, I have eyeballs on me. I have employees. I have people around me, friends, allies that I want to also get better. The people who watch me, I want them to get better. So it's up to me to keep going and do this and keep leveling up and being that example for people, not only for myself because I live better and then I can do more, but for the other people. So I can pass that torch to the next person so they can continue this movement. So it's not just about me. It's about Team BC and that wave and that movement. It's never just about me, right? And that's what people miss. So the people that are close to me, they understand that and they get the benefit from it. Versus somebody from the outside who doesn't really know, or who only sees that one person who tries to trash talk me and spin facts, then they're like, okay, fuck this guy. But that's fine. But when they get closer, they see, okay? So going into 2020, right? Man, there's so much I can say. If I could say there's a couple errors, absolutely, because even the things that I did right, I could have done better. Mm-hmm. And case in point, one of the first things I recommend everybody do, and even though it's easy to hear, but it's tougher in practice, is you need to take very critical analysis, a very close critical analysis of every step that you're taking, not just in business or social media, but in every part of your life, and say, is my decision-making process polluted? Meaning, you as an individual, your values, your core beliefs and values, are they yours? Or were they instilled in you by someone else and you never analyzed them or checked them? Okay? When something happens and you have an immediate, like a subconscious thought about a certain subject or a word or a scenario, is that really you? Or was that someone else's or something else's indoctrination in your mind? Okay? That sounds weird a little bit, but that's self-analysis that each individual has to do, because as an example, many of you who maybe are a little bit hesitant to make video, it's not because you don't want to make video, it's because somebody instilled a thought or a critique or a judgment in your mind that you're still riding with and believing, and you're not even aware that it's in your mind, and you need to take that time. So really freeing myself from outside criticism and judgment, for sure, dude. Had I handled that even more in the beginning, I probably would be a year or two ahead right now, if we're gonna look, down the timeline, right? That for sure. Number two, I was terrible with my finances when I started. I didn't come from money, didn't understand money. The book that really changed it for me was The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, and doing his event, because even though they pitch you a lot at the event, the information is good. So I made a lot of mistakes, even leasing my Audi, like when I was new and I closed a few homes and thought I was fucking Superman. That was a big mistake. But it taught me a lot, right? And there was a lot of times my first year where even though I made pretty damn good money, I think I did 123,000 in GCI my first year, I was still tight with money because I didn't really put aside for taxes, right? I got the car, I was doing this and that, and I literally got to the edge, but it taught me a lot. So two, for the people who are starting to build and make money, get those habits in place. Have a financial management system to make sure that you're responsible. It's okay to buy what you want, but make sure there's discipline and structure behind it. And it's a logical decision, not purely emotional. Number three, ruthlessly, I didn't do this in the beginning, ruthlessly getting rid of and we can say, what would be the proper word? Banishing. There we go. Banishing anybody who's not aligned with what you're doing and where you're going in your life. God, we're taught that we have to be so nice to everybody and kiss their ass and let them step all over you. That's the worst fucking philosophy I've ever heard on this planet. So you're going to let other people shit on you and you're just going to take it? That doesn't make any sense. So if someone's not good for you, because this is the key. This isn't one-sided. Anybody who's around me, whether back then or now, benefits tremendously from my presence, my conversations, and my givingness as an individual, for sure, because I care about people. But if that's not being reciprocated, why are you keeping those people in your life?
100%.
And it doesn't matter if they're blood or not. It doesn't matter if they're blood or not. So that for sure, take a very close look at the people around you, because you don't realize they are sucking you dry, man, of your energy, of your emotions. And you don't even realize that you adopt their habits and their nuances just by being around them. That's how crazy it is with this whole energetic thing and being around other human beings. Like we hear, and you know scientifically that if a group of women start spending time together, their menstrual cycles literally get in sync. That's energetic. That's not a conscious thing. Oh, hey, let's all menstruate at the same time. Like that's not the way it works. So that should give you a clue into the power of that. And then number four would be, I probably would have produced a lot more content. I was only doing one video a week or every 2 weeks. I would have done a video every day or every other day, because back to the first point we said, it doesn't take that long to do video and social media if you're disciplined. Sometimes on a Sunday, I'll shoot and film all my videos for the week. I'll just change my jacket, right? I'll take 10 pictures at a place that I have for the next couple of weeks. It's not that difficult. If you are disciplined and you make it a priority and it's in your schedule, that's it. It's done. It's simple.
100%, man. I completely agree with that. And everybody wants to complicate it, usually is an excuse simply not to execute.
Yep.
No, to wrap things up, man, now going into 2020, what would you recommend agents do for building their personal brand?
Yeah. Great question, dude. This is one thing you need to recommend or understand, Mr. and Mrs. real estate agents watching this, even if you're not in real estate. People get very bored and figure you out quickly if they spot your pattern, okay? We as human beings are conditioned that when we spot a pattern, we lose interest. With that said, when it comes to your content, even if it scares the shit out of you, you need to post more stuff about you and what you're doing outside of XYZ profession. Where people mess up with branding is they make their profession or what they're highlighting bigger than them. Case in point, we see this so much in the car community. You go to their page, what is their page? It's all their fucking car. You don't even know what the person looks like. They post a picture of themselves, it gets 2 likes because no one fucking knows who it is, and all they see is their Ferrari or their Lambo or their Supra, okay? It needs to be the opposite. Real estate needs to be one part of you.
Agreed.
Not all of you, to where you're smaller now than real estate. With that said, now you would understand why I say post a lot more personal content about you, maybe some things that you like, because when you start divulging more information about you, you build a better connection with the people who are gonna follow you. Because let's say I tell people, hey, I've been a pianist for 20 years and I haven't told you. Anybody who plays the piano is closer to me now, or who played the piano, or who would like to play the piano, okay? Plus, maybe somebody who plays that piano, either they themselves or they know somebody who's an influencer who would like to get interviewed or collab in that space. Now, guess what? I talk to them. We do a video on Facebook. We do a YouTube video. I just opened up a huge floodgate to bring in more pianists who may eventually become a follower or a client or somebody who buys, coaching or whatever it is. So it's strategic with this. So when you divulge more about yourself, even though you get the negative, which is a criticism, you open yourself to so many more opportunities that people are forgetting. And my thing is probably it's 70, 80% personal, 20, 30% listings, coaching, and all that stuff. Because I see it all the time. I know people that they get on Facebook, they create their account. Hey man, I just got this new listing, gets a lot of likes, but after the second or third one in a row, ghost town. No one likes it anymore because guess what? You just became predictable, and we're not attracted to predictable. We like spontaneous. We like different curveballs. And a lot of people forget that. And when you divulge more about yourself, you have a whole buffet line of topics and things that you can talk about. And that's the beauty in it. And then people get to know you more. So for the people that are in your audience, they're closer to you now. And that's what you want.
I agree, man. And you see this time and time again where people turn their Instagram feed into a homes and land magazine, but nobody's ever looked at, a photo of a listing and said, regardless of what agent's behind that property, I want to work with them. It's never happened. They say, oh, this person shares a similar passion, interest, lifestyle, values, morals. I want to work with them because I can relate to it. And just like you alluded to, when you share your passions, they're passions and hobbies for a reason, because there's communities of people that share the same thing. So when you can tap into that, you're able to exploit that for business and build connections on much deeper level, because now it's not transactional, it's personal. So I think that's incredibly important, man. One observation that I have to make that's a bit, right wing that I noticed when I met you is the communication skills that you have, but not just that. Something that I really took note of is the fact that when you took the menu when we went for lunch, you instantly made a decision of what you wanted for an appetizer. I want you to quickly touch on the fact of quick decision making, because I don't know if this has come from your practice of objection handling and be able to respond quickly. But I think that's something that a lot of people fail with, is they overthink every single thought. And you proved to me, I took note of that. I was like, Landon, he knew exactly what he wanted in 2 seconds and executed on it. What has that done for your life?
Man, well, I got that datum originally, Mike, from just reading so many people like, Trump and other people who were just phenomenal businessmen. And a unanimous trait I saw in all of them was they said, you got to make decisions fast, even if you're going to make them incorrectly, because then you'll learn. But just get to the next one, get to the next one. And that really stuck with me, because I looked around after reading that. I kind of closed my book and I was like, man, they're right. Everybody's just so fucking indecisive. I started noticing that with some clients too. I'm like, dude, why are we even here? You should have already signed and I should already be in my car. But I started getting it. So I said, I need to adopt that. So I put it into practice. Another thing that I think I had heard from maybe Zig Ziglar or something, how you do anything is how you do everything. That stuck with me too. So I said, okay, well, if it comes to deciding on my food, if I can't do that, how am I going to make a strong, important decision for my life? So it starts with these little, in quotes, insignificant decisions. And I started making that a habit to constantly choose and make decisions fast, just to get me in that mode. And now it's the way I operate. But before, it was a little bit more difficult. So I would literally, in the beginning, I would just point to something and I was like, okay, I'll take that, just to get myself conditioned to it. But what people don't realize, a kind of positive from that, is your mind will begin to adapt to that and you'll start processing things quicker. So now if you're with a client and you slow it down to a regular conversation and you're going back and forth, it now seems like you're crawling and it's so much easier and it doesn't seem quick. Like you hear that from a lot of athletes too. When they get really advanced, I feel like the game and everything just slows down. That's one of those positive side effects we can say that comes from it. Because then to other people, it seems like you're super quick. But to me, it's like, dude, this is just like normal speed.
Definitely, man. That's super awesome. So guys, we're going to wrap it up here. The last thing I want Bryan to touch on is, where can we find you? And also, Modern Success, what's up?
Cool, man. Yeah, Bryan Casella. If you look me up on YouTube, Google, you'll find @Bryan Casella is all my handles for Twitter and Instagram and all that. Instagram is probably the best place if you'd like to DM me, because I look through them pretty regularly. Modern Success is just a coaching program that I put together, dude. And I have realtors, non-realtors, and it's really all encompassing. It's a community now. We have about 300 people, active members. I do 2 live events a year. That are members only, that's free for the members. We're doing one in Vegas here, February 29th and March 1st. You can come out, dude, if you want, you're invited. And I just put it together to cover real estate sales, communication, right? I've gotten my certifications as an NLP master practitioner, certified hypnotist. I talk about those things, financial management. We talk about dating and relationships and that kind of stuff. So it's very all encompassing as far as life and just skills that are needed, not only in your particular business, but just in life. And it's, I think at the moment right now, it's $127 a month. So it's very affordable for most people.
Awesome, guys. Well, I'm going to link down all of Bryan's channels as well as the link to Modern Success. I guarantee you guys are going to get a ton of value. So make sure you check that out. You know, Bryan's dropped a ton of bombs for you guys. And if you've watched any of my other interviews, usually I'm doing a lot more talking, but sometimes you just have to let greatness speak. So we did that here today. 2020 is our year, and it's your year to finally be yourself and start taking action and stop waiting for the time to come. So thank you guys for watching. As always, check out Bryan's stuff, follow him, and it's time to grow. We will see you next time.